Today we dive into the debate over tariffs and their impact on American families. The stakes are high and answers are elusive. $4,600 is what economists says Trump's proposed tariffs could cost the average American family each year. When Trump's top trade official, Ambassador Greer, was hauled into Congress, you might expect straight answers, but that's not what happened. Representative Lloyd Doggett grilled the ambassador with yes or no questions. It began with a clear, direct question from Representative Doggett. Will Trump's tariffs be levied on pharmaceuticals from abroad? Ambassador Greer's answer? A vague reference to Trump wanting to bring manufacturing back. No confirmation, no denial, just a non-answer. Doggett asked, do you agree with Navarro that higher tariffs are tax cuts? Greer dodged again. I don't get involved in tax discussions.
Ambassador, I have a number of yes-no answers, and if you feel you cannot answer them yes or no, just say you cannot, and I'll move on to the next question. The first of these, yes or no, the Trump tariffs will soon be levied on pharmaceuticals from abroad.
I'd like to discuss that in more detail with you, sir.
Is that true or not?
Well, the president, he wants to get manufacturing production back here, and so he's going to conduct an investigation to see what's appropriate in terms of tariffs.
So he hasn't decided to impose them as he said he would last night at the Republican fundraiser.
He said that he will impose them. Now what the extent of that is subject to an investigation.
Reclaiming my time. A simple question, Ambassador. Yes or no, do you agree with the president's senior Trump trade advisor, Peter Navarro, that higher tariffs are tax cuts?
Sir, I don't get involved in the tax discussions, but we know tariffs have a revenue effect for sure.
You think tariffs are tax cuts?
I think that tariffs are an imposition on foreign goods that can protect American workers and American products.
Doggett continued. With Americans watching $7 trillion in stock market value disappear, do you agree with Navarro that what they need is patience? Greer talked about reshoring and the national deficit but never addressed the pain Americans are feeling. Doggett quoted Commerce Secretary Lutnick, who said these tariffs could be permanent. Do you agree? Doggett asked. Greer's response? We're negotiating with willing partners. Another dodge. Another refusal to clarify what this policy will mean for the people footing the bill.
And again, yes or no, do you agree with senior trade advisor Peter Navarro that as Americans watch their savings erode and the stock market losses approaching $7 trillion, that what Americans need is patience?
I think we all need to work through this period as we try to reshore and get over the $1.2 trillion deficit that Biden left us with.
Do you agree with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick that we're not going to reverse course no matter how much the markets implode, and that these tariffs will be permanent?
Well, the president has directed that we're negotiating with willing partners, and that's where I'm keying my guidance from.
Doggett brought receipts. Did we impose major tariffs on allies like the UK and Australia? Greer claimed there's a global deficit and allies should buy more. Doggett pressed, yes or no, did we impose tariffs on surplus countries? Greer admitted, we imposed tariffs on every country. That's a yes. So much for targeting abusers. Doggett didn't stop there. He brought up how, under Trump's first term, retaliatory tariffs from China hurt American farmers. Will that happen again? He asked. Greer's response? Might have to, might not, clear as mud. Companies with Republican lobbyists, especially those connected to Mar-a-Lago, got special tariff exemptions. The Government Accountability Office flagged the process. Can you guarantee that won't happen again?
We just referenced the United Kingdom, and you have claimed that these trade deficits require these tariffs. Is it correct that large Trump tariffs were imposed on imports from close allies like the United Kingdom and Australia, even though we have a sizable trade surplus with each of those allies?
There's a global deficit, and those surpluses should probably be larger because of the barriers they have.
Again, sir, can you simply answer yes or no? Did we impose tariffs on allies with whom we have a trade surplus, not a trade deficit?
We impose tariffs on every country because it's a global problem.
So the answer is yes, even though you don't want to say it, apparently. Let me ask you also about experiences during the first Trump administration, because at that time there was discussion about the impact of the retaliatory tariffs from China on farmers. And as a result of that retaliation, there was a significant amount of farm welfare payments that were paid. We know this time that the tariffs and the retaliation are much broader, like the Chinese substituting Brazilian soybeans for American soybeans. Will American taxpayers be asked once again to finance welfare payments to farmers that lose foreign markets? Yes or no?
It's not clear yet whether that will be necessary.
Might have to and might not. But similarly, last time there were concerns about the selective nature and the exceptions that were made to these tariffs. And it seems that those who hired Republican contributors, lobby firms, did much better on exceptions. The whole exception process was criticized by the Government Accountability Office. Can I be assured that if one of my businesses hires a Republican lobbyist and contributor who can get a table down at Mar-a-Lago, that they will not get an exception to these tariffs or an exclusion?
There are no exceptions or exclusions to this program.
Exception.
Doggett closed with a devastating statistic. Over the past 48 years, the U.S. has run consistent trade deficits. And yet, during that time, the economy grew 255% in real terms. American household wealth and income surged ahead of Canada, China, and the EU. So he asked, why are we calling this a national emergency now? Greer didn't answer that one either. Instead, he blamed Biden's deficit, called for reshoring, and ignored decades of economic growth tied to global trade. Doggett ended with this: Trump promised to bring prices down, but nothing you've said today gives the American people any reason to believe that's happening. His lies continue to cost Americans dearly.
For the president.
All right. It's not one of my regular allies, but the National Taxpayers Union sent me a question yesterday, and I'll pose it to you as they did to me. They note that the United States has run trade deficits for 48 straight years, during which time the U.S. economy has grown by 255% in real terms, that these decades of trade deficits have corresponded with increases in American wealth and household incomes that far exceed the progress in Canada, China, and the European Union. Do you think that this growth in American wealth as a result associated with deficits is something that constitutes a national emergency?
The giant and massive persistent trade deficit that Biden left us with is an emergency. It's not like the small deficits from the 60s when we had auto workers here making production. We've offshored all this stuff, Mr. Doggett, and we are really in an emergency situation. And we're not passing the buck.
We seem to have done much better than in the Gilded Age, which the president prefers. I would just say that on the eve of his inauguration, the president promised to bring prices drastically down, and there's nothing that you've said in your answers or non-answers to me today that will give Americans any assurance to believe anything other than that their prices will continue to soar and their savings will continue to shrink. The president's lies continue to cost the American people dearly. I yield back.
Let's be crystal clear. Tariffs are taxes, prices will go up, and Trump's team won't admit it because they can't defend it. No answers for the $4,600 burden on families. This has been critical coverage. We cut through the noise, like subscribe and stay locked in. We're not done holding them accountable.